Hello, everyone who may be listening. This is the first episode of the Exploring Cinema podcast, hosted by yours truly, Gabriel. Today's episode is going to be on The Silence of the Lambs, and after several re-recordings, going back to the drawing board, doing new notes, figuring everything out, it's finally here. I'm sorry it took so long. I promise the other episode's not going to take this long. There's just a lot of inconveniences with this one specifically. But without further ado, here we go. The Silence of the Lambs, starring Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. For this episode, I'm not necessarily going to be doing a movie review. That was my original thought, but I had to kind of go back on it and figure out something new. So, with that said, I'm going to be going over the characters, the two main characters being Dr. Lecter and Clarice Starling, the FBI cadet. And I'm going to be talking about who they are, what they do, a few of their arcs, their personality types, and their significance. All right, without further ado, we'll start with our main character, Clarice Starling, played by Academy Award-winning actress Jodie Foster, who won an Oscar for this role. Which, fun fact, this film actually won 5 Oscars, considered the Big Five, which was also won by the great film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was released in 1975. One of my personal favorites, starring Jack Nicholson. Please let me know if you'd like me to do a review on that one. Very great story, one of my personal favorites. But back to the main subject, Clarice. She is a mysterious exception for her role and for who she is. Clarice is like a fish out of water in her environment. She's at the FBI. She's an FBI cadet. She's trying to become an agent, and there are very few women in her field, so she's kind of trying to stand up for women with that, which prompts her, man, that's awesome. She's doing a great job, and she's really working harder than anyone in her class. You can tell that from the very beginning of the film. The opening shot is of her running through the forest and doing extra things, getting them gains, as people say. And yeah, she's working her tail off. She's doing a great job and everything. And then she gets a call that she needs to help track down this infamous serial killer who's going around skinning people named Buffalo Bill. And with that, she goes to Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who's being held in a mental facility because he's a little crazy. And she talks to him about it. And fun fact about Dr. Lecter, which I will get into him in a second. Sir Anthony Hopkins also won an Oscar for that role, and he holds the record for the shortest amount of screen time in the film that he won an Academy Award for. So he only got just over 16 minutes, which is incredible that he's able to win an Oscar and only get 16 minutes. Yeah, there are plenty of actors that get two plus hours and can do nothing with that. So props to Sir Anthony Hopkins, great man, and is really doing a lot of great things. Back to Clarice, though. So when the case arises and she goes to Dr. Lecter, you feel the immense pressure she's put on. You feel that she's got that need to really prove herself. She needs to finish this. She needs to win this case over so that she can go through and that she can prove herself to be a worthy FBI agent and not just a cadet that wants a job. That she's worth it and she's just as good as any man in her field could ever be. So she goes to see Dr. Lecter and everything, and he toys with her. That's one of the things Hannibal does. He toys with his victims. You say victims, but not really just specifically victims, kind of like people. He toys with you. He tries to see what gets you upset, what your interests are, who you are in your entire life story with as minimal contact as possible. And specifically, Clarice fascinates him because she's so mysterious. She's kind of like a mouse running through the labyrinth. She's trying to figure out where to go. So many twists and turns, so many plot twists, so many things she's trying to get around. It's really, really incredible. Another thing about Clarice is she's running away from a difficult past. As Hannibal says in the film, he says, "You're one generation away from white trash." He says that in his first scene with her when she's interviewing him at the mental institution. And that's really what sets her off because she was that in a way. She was born in West Virginia. She was really born to a struggling family. Her mother had already died, and her father died when she was 10 years old, so she went to live with her uncle. And her uncle owned a big farm, and I believe it was Montana. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Send me a message or something. But yeah, that's kind of how all that went. And she one day she woke up and she heard screaming. And she went to the barn, and it was a bunch of lambs being slaughtered. And Clarice was, 10-year-old girl, she's freaked out by this, right? So she takes one of the lambs, she runs as far as she can. In the film, it says she makes roughly 5 miles before a police squad car comes over and picks her up. She wasn't able to go any further. The lamb was so heavy. And when she got back, the lamb was slaughtered and she was moved out to live with other relatives. So, anyways, though, when she's talking to Dr. Lecter, he's trying to toy with her and everything. He's really learning her, but she's so mysterious, it's really difficult. And eventually, at the end of the story, she is able to find Buffalo Bill, but with the one negativity of Dr. Lecter having escaped. And that's kind of, I guess, a tarnish on her record a bit, but it's not her fault by any means. But yeah, she succeeds. She becomes an agent. She's awarded. She's celebrated, and she wins. But at the same time, Dr. Lecter does as well. He wins in the way that he got what he wanted, and she got what she wanted. So really, it's a very interesting ending. It's full of mixed emotions. And with that, I'm going to get into Hannibal Lecter. He used to be a well-educated psychologist, and he was raised in very high-class society. And as I said earlier, he loves to get into the head of his victims and really anyone that he meets. He's brutal, and you see that in the scene when he escapes towards the very end of the film. I'm not going to say them on the recording, but he is brutal. He shows no mercy, and he seems so polite on the outside, but he is a monster who you should not mess with. And yeah, he's crazy. He doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, but he's such a deep character. Really, to really understand him, you can't even really put him into words. I suggest watching the Analyzing Evil episode on him. It really talks about his upbringing, what happened, and what caused all of this, or just watch the film itself, honestly. You really should go and see the film. It's incredible. It's one of the best ever made. I could not recommend it enough. It is perfect. There's not a flaw in it. Yeah, it's one of the best ever made. It was released in 1991, won Best Picture, as well as several other things. Best Director, and it's, yeah, one of the greatest of all time. I would say it is the best crime thriller ever made, in my opinion. But yeah, that's the end of it. Thank you for listening. I know this episode was super short, but the next one's going to be definitely on the longer side. I really hope you all who listened enjoyed this. I know I did. Thank you very much. Thank you for putting up with me for the past few minutes. And yeah, look out for the next episode coming out soon. See you all. Goodbye.